it's not enough to be great at your crafts. He knows that he can trust me with anything. He'll be like, G, he'll take care of it. If this looks like shit outside, he'll make sure it looks awesome.
If you can't be honest, then you just can't do anything.
We came here to want to partner with people and to create stories that are worth telling and enjoy the process.
We have a saying in the office where best ideas win.
It's like, I have to make money. I have to be an influencer. I have to do all this stuff because I didn't go to college. I had a career. I had another degree before I did this. I think character building is a huge issue with this generation. Like, I'm actually good at making mistakes, and correcting them on the fly has made me an incredible artist.
Awesome. Well, I'm pumped to be here today with a longtime Cuts homie, friend, and someone who's inspired us over the last couple of years, Garrett King. You guys might know him as Shortstache on Instagram, and for his amazing edits and video content. He shot with us for at least 5 years now, since the early days of Cuts, and it's been awesome to see your career blossom. And we're excited to announce we're launching a Legacy Ambassador program, and Garrett is our first member of the program. And the program is something that we've been thinking about for a long time, but as a way to showcase other entrepreneurs and people living in the sport of business, like Garrett, who are entrepreneurs, who took risk, who are going about their lives to inspire others. And no one better than Garrett, because it's so authentic. His career very much mirrored the Cuts brand, from humble beginnings in Orange County and San Diego to now living in New York, creating his own creative agency and really going for it. So Garrett, stoked to welcome you as part of the team.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I feel humbled to be a part of it all. So happy to be here.
Yeah. So yesterday we shot our first campaign with Garrett as part of the ambassador program, and we were at a helicopter pad and getting some great content. How do you go about preparing for something like that?
I think first key element for me is honestly instilling the confidence in yourself, because most of the factors typically are all out of your control. So expectations versus reality, also ensuring the client, that they understand that you can tackle no matter what happens. And so even if you don't feel like it's going to go well, you don't project that. It's like, man, this might be kind of a hectic mess. And typically helicopter pads are, it's just chaotic. And so one, you embrace the stiff winds, you adapt. And I think just honestly knowing that everything's going to happen the way it's supposed to. And it's up to you to kind of put the team on your back at times. Sometimes there'll be team shoots or people feel like it's not going great. It's good mentality to just keep that energy going and make sure everybody can adapt as well. And so for instance, that shoot, it's like, we might get kind of what we want to get, or we might get way more than we want to get, but it's up to us as a team and collective, and especially in my role for sure, to make sure that I'm getting anything I possibly can. And then also having a creative vision to later on instill with you guys to be like, wow, we actually got a lot of really sick stuff. I didn't see it that way, or I didn't see that angle, or I didn't see this level of depth, or I don't know. So for me, it's having that confidence and understanding that this is all going to be epic. It's just up to us to make sure that happens. So.
How do you prepare to manage expectations with clients? Because I can imagine, especially in creative, when everything's subjective, everyone has a different view of what the outcome is, even if it's written down in plain English. So how do you go about over delivering when it's subjective?
Sure. I think it's a two-part thing. One, when they come to me, they expect a specific result. And so you already have that compliance, we're going to crush it. Two, I always over communicate. Here's some of the factors that are going to happen. And it's not that you, what do they say? Under promise, over deliver. I always guarantee we're going to crush it, whatever that looks like. I've never been like, oh, hopefully we get something. It's, no, there's a lot of stuff going on, but we'll make something happen. Whatever it is, we're going to make it happen. So I think that's where a lot of people differ. Most people are like, oh, we'll kind of see what we get. And then they hope that they can over deliver. I basically just embrace, this is what we're going to do. We're going to over deliver tenfold, and we'll make, even if there's nothing, we'll make something out of nothing. And so, I think if it's false hope you need to give someone, even if you don't have it, you'll find it along the way.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you cannot worry about stuff you can't control. So control what you can, let the rest go. Like yesterday, we had all those helicopters coming in and out.
Yeah,
it's just like madness and like the girl's hair and everything. But it's like, cool. We'll run it until we get a good take with her hair kind of flying everywhere. We had all these nice pockets of it looking natural, her brushing her hair back, all that stuff. And so that looks way more in the moment than like very stylized and posed because there is a ton of wind. People that honestly look subjectively at it would be like, if you're truly on a helicopter pad and they're getting out of it, wind would be crazy. And we got all those movements and all those shots. So I think staying true to your craft and then, again, having that confidence and hyping it up because people need something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Part of what I think makes you great is you have a unique style. Like it's very much like if you see a photo, you know it's coming from you. Mm-hmm. How did you go about crafting that? And then I think maybe the harder part is like, how do you stay there? Because I think with cuts, we have a unique style, but it's oftentimes it's like you almost get bored of it.
Sure.
Because you're like, okay, I've done this 100 times. But how do you like you're relentless about like being consistent. Mm-hmm. So how do you go? How do you manage all of that?
That's a great question because I feel like my style has slowly evolved over time. It's just in like these micro adjustments, and I think you just get inherently inspired through movies, at least for me. So I'll see like a lot of films on Vimeo or a lot of films from Apple TV or things like that where I'm like, oh, wow, that's very inspiring, like the colors here. Or they might be very altered where it's like that actually looks way better than it would in real life. Mm-hmm. A lot of that comes down to like the cinematics of film, but that doesn't always translate to photography because my taste might not be for everyone. So I get this question a lot of people that are like, well, what if your style is too much for a client? I've accepted that because I don't like super vibrant colors of anything because it seems like that's an edit.
Yeah.
And so travel brands don't really hit me up all that much. Like hotels always say, for like the vibrancy of stuff, like Hawaii might be like, oh, we want all these like really warm tones and insanely vibrant waters. It's like, that's not really my style. I want it to feel more like how a movie would be filmed. And that's not necessarily the case for a lot of brands. So I'm okay because I don't want to alter my brand just for the sake of a client. Mm-hmm. That being said, there is wiggle room. Like for you guys, when I edit, it's still my undertones and my style, but I know that you guys, the shirt colors or the pant colors can't be skewed that much because then it's kind of given a false reality for people who are purchasing stuff.
Yep.
So, and I also know that you guys are very much a clean brand. So it's like everything needs to be crisp, clean, but still be stylistic.
Yep.
So I think understanding that expectation too, and you can't go so crazy on editing unless that's the project.
Have you had to turn like projects down because you just couldn't find alignment?
Not really. I mean, it's not the right client for me. If people are like, hey, can you edit this a specific way? Mm-hmm. It's like, you're either hiring me for my style and my interpretation. Totally. There's definitely wiggle room. It's like, hey, could we, can we make these a tad bit brighter? Let's go even push a little bit warmer because we're trying to go for this spring feel. Great. Let's do that. But if somebody wants a completely different style, it's like, guys, why did you hire me? Or it's like, if you wanted me to just shoot it and you guys edit it, then just do your thing. But like, I don't want to be known for whatever the end result is. So it's been give and take, and it doesn't hurt my feelings whatsoever. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I also know that there's a couple people who try to be juggernauts and build a style for every single client they have. You'll never have a brand or aesthetic. You'll never have a style. You're just like a pick-me card.
Yeah, when I think about whether it's creators or brands that inspire me, it's the ones that over like a 20 plus year frame, and it doesn't mean they can't evolve into something else, but they stay true to who they are. And I think that is often like the biggest challenge because as a creative, part of being a creative is you want to try new things. But from if you're fitting that into the brand lens, the being relentless, consistent is so important for longevity, and you definitely do that. So let's take a step back. You had a big year. You proposed. You're getting married in 3 months. You also started a creative agency in New York. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So both of those are a strict result from my fiance. Couldn't get married unless it was for her, and then also couldn't have started the agency without her. So, or just run my life. It's like I need her. She's my better half. She makes everything go round. She's my best friend, and the way that we communicate and everything that we've done, we do for each other and for like a greater purpose. And so to have that and know that we have each other's back, especially coming out here, no friends, no family. We're not from the East Coast. We're not used to the weather change. We're embracing literally all the stiff winds. It's like any adversity, we've just kind of taken head on, but we know we have each other. So coming out here, knowing like, listen, we can do it. If we're young, like we don't have kids yet, let's go out and really go head on into a very energetic but can be hectic environment, all for the sake of building our careers. So when we decided to build an agency, Chelsea was very adamant about wanting to control what position she wanted. It's like, what's going to make me happy? What am I really good at? What do I want to excel at? And what can I, what assets can I bring to the table that's going to be fulfilling in this part? And so I told her, I said, I've always wanted to do some type of agency because design is my background. When I worked with an agency, I felt like when you're around other people, you only become better if you're in the right environment. You'll at least get better at your job, whether you like those people or not, or you'll get faster, stronger. But if you really have a powerful team around you, like you guys do, everybody wants to grow and get better. Everybody's held accountable. And so I was like, I want to cultivate an environment where we can do that. And so I said, one of my strengths are bringing together the right people and empowering them to rise to the level of greatness that I demand out of myself. It's like I demand excellence out of guys that I work with. It's like, I'm not going to mess up, so they don't mess up. And if we do, let's collectively take this on and problem solve. So that being said, Chelsea's very much the same way. And I said, I wanted to be more than a production house because all of us are production house at this point, man. It's one man band or you have a couple buddies. But I said, I want to be different. And if Shortstache is going to evolve, it's got to be something different. It's got to be powerful. It's got to make sense. And so we adapted to keep one part of the stash. But for the agency, it's like Stash House very much collectively bridges the gap between brand strategy and production. So half of it's brand strategy, and that's Chelsea's side, which she excels each and every way. It's like that side I don't really know of. And she's also more in the creative direction. She understands how to produce, throw events, everything. So
I'm excited for our event with Chelsea. I think September or October, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So that is what her bread and butter, pulling the right people together, understanding how to do all of that. And she's just head of operations. So that to me is just a massive win and a definite important part of the agency. That half is huge. So that being said, we just like, okay, if we're going to do this, that's how we want to do it. Now, where do we start it? And neither of us thought that like LA or Orange County was going to be it. It was just, we loved Huntington Beach, too sleepy. Didn't see us like having kiddos there per se, but we had a community. It was just like, I think New York is where we need to go. Again, no family, no friends, but we thought that all the brands are out here, all the HQs are out here. If we can get face to face with people and actually sell ourselves in the agency, that's how we'll get ahead. It's like people to people, human connection is all we are sought after for. It's like we all need each other. So I'm like, we got to get in front of these people. We got to be there. We got to be present. We got to build community. And so we just thought New York seems like the spot. So let's just spend all our money and come out here.
I mean, that's quite the move from Orange County, where it's, if you're listening and you don't know where that is, it's not LA, but it's like an hour and a half up, much more sleepy, lots of traffic, but not New York with 4 strong seasons. New Yorkers are New Yorkers too. They'll tell you how they feel. What's been the, like, how do you guys manage being, married and like compartmentalizing your relationship to, your work relationship, and has that been a challenge?
So when we moved here, I feel like it was so expensive to move. Yeah. It's like you're at some point when you're moving and transitioning, it's not only the moving cost, it's the 2 months up front when you get here, it's the flights for the dogs, it's rent back home. So you're like, okay, we're stretching ourselves so thin to make this happen. And then she's basically leaving one job to come join the next. And it's like, there's just an immense amount of pressure on each other, right? To be like, we need to make money. We need to do this, do that. And I think for us, communication was about the biggest thing possible. It was like, listen, we need to be as vulnerable with each other, speak our minds. But I think the number one thing is being respectful of each other's time. And when they're in the zone, like I realize when she is working, I need to check in with her about when we can talk, but I can't just go talk to her. I have to respect her space and time. I'm a little bit more like, I don't care. Like, I'm kind of jamming. For her, she is locked in. I need to respect that. The other part is we cannot take anything personal. Even though there's all these stress and anxieties of the city, and like, I want to build community and have more friends and all this stuff, it can feel very lonely. It's opening up to each other and understanding that those vulnerabilities are what bring you closer. And that love for each other has only made us best friends and way more close than I thought we could be. It's like, wow, that's my ride or die. She has my back awesome. No matter what. And I think, over communicating, and then also not taking things personal.
That's so important.
It's so tough because I'm very dedicated in my craft, and I developed thick skin as a designer to be like, okay, I can try something else. But I lean on her a lot for her interpretation and her opinion, because she's not exactly in my same world per se. So she has a different perspective of like, I think that could be better. I think this doesn't make sense. That's very huge for me, because she's giving me her honest feedback, and I truly appreciate it. I can't take that personal. It's strictly business, and we both want to grow. So I think understanding that it's her and I against the problem, not her and I against each other.
Yeah, that's huge. Because taking things personal is really like, what's the deeper issue? It's ego. Yeah. Because we've had, I think, hundreds of employees at this point, and the ones that do the best are the ones that don't have, big egos. And taking things personally can be a really hard thing to work with, because if you can't be honest. Yep. Then you just can't do anything. Yep. Especially in like, brand building, creative building, where it's like all subjective. We have a saying in the office where best ideas win. And so it doesn't matter if you're a senior level person or the last person hired. If we're talking about something, best ideas wins, and you can't be afraid to offend people. I think I call it like the 2020 generation, we had, we just, the first 10 people we hired were very on brand. They were so cuts. Then like the next 25, we were just continuing hiring people, but we didn't really know how to do that well. We kind of, I'm speaking from experience, you looked at resumes and you're like, oh wow, these people are great. But then I didn't know how to interview for like that, of like understanding if people could take things personal. And we just hired names and logos. And then we had this great team, but no one could be honest with each other, because there's these people that like, hey, I came from Nike or this or that, and my way's the right way. And we ended up going into certain products or certain creative visions that really weren't the business, simply because we couldn't talk about it and say, hey, I don't think that's right for cuts. And now we're much more slow to hire and like really try to like lean out the assholes. And I think one thing I've found is just going slower with the interview process and like kind of being nonchalant about it. And I think you can really see someone's like, do they want the paycheck, or do they really want to work for cuts? And if they really want to work for cuts, then oftentimes they'll, have less of an ego, because they'll think highly of the greater goal. Sure. So it kind of sounds like that on a two-man side is very similar.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I don't know if I've shaken her world up as much, probably, but she's shaken mine up as far as like structure and operations. It's something that I've always needed, but I've always had to just kind of take it on in waves. So she's taught me a lot about that side of stuff. But again, just, I think it's just respecting each other's time in that space, and then knowing the right time to approach. And again, it's just not taking it personal. And so it's really tough when we're still, officing out of our home, and she'll go into different places to go co-work and get outside of the house. But like, my office is set up here. And so eventually our goal is to get into an office. That way, when we leave home, that's home. When we're at home, it's no work.
Yeah.
And so
that's great.
Because having work here and also home and our relationship and everything else, it's really hard to compartmentalize sometimes and try to shut our brains off. Be like, I just don't want to talk about work, even though we live and breathe it with each other. But I couldn't ask for a better partner, both as a friend, as, my fiance, anything. So it's like, we have that in each other. If there was any type of roadblocks, we would have already sped past them. Like, we just cruise through and we problem solve. So we don't ever see anything as an underlying issue. We are both trying to solve things in the moment. It's like, okay, how can I better talk to you in this state when I know we're both stressed out? We're like, I'm going to take a minute to pause. I'll get back to you when I'm like not as upset from this other thing that I'm focused on that has nothing to do with you. So that's been really good for me, because we're both I'm not woo-woo or any of that, but we're both Libras. And so we're very similar in a lot of ways.
What is a Libra known for?
So we're very passionate.
What is Libra? What month is that?
I think so our birthdays are like 7 days apart.
Oh, wow.
And so 6 days apart, actually. But I think we're early October, but I think it goes from September maybe or August. But so we're very similar in a lot of ways, but also very different. And so when we're both very passionate about what we want to do, sometimes we realize we'll butt heads and it's all for the greater good. So we'll kind of laugh about it and then reset. So that part I think has been a fun challenge for us. But as far as like business and stuff, we've really hit a lot of stride here. And it's been, I mean, everything happens for a reason. We're here for a reason. We're talking on the podcast for a reason. You guys wanted to work with us out here because we're in New York. Yeah. It's like everything is happening for a reason. So that's been really fulfilling.
Yeah, I know when you guys moved out here, we're all talking in the office, and New York, even though we're based in LA, we're much more of a New York brand. Like we're things that fit well, that have a clean aesthetic, that are minimal. Sometimes in LA, like the fashion is like homeless, oversized stuff, colors, like kind of grungy, wrinkly, and that's not as much us. So it worked out perfect. So what are some of the things that you think the city of New York, and just moving out here, like what went into like the methodology that this place was going to be better for you in terms of like what New York brings that you're looking to get out of this city?
I think one, we're kind of like, we don't know. Like I have no idea. Chelsea had been here a lot, I think a lot more compared to me. The times I've been out here though, it kind of depends. I mean, it's like people make places, or you have certain experiences in places you visit where you're like, I hate that place, when other people are like, I love that place. I can see where a lot of that can get mishandled here. Same thing with LA, same thing with anywhere. But out here, it's like there's a different story on every corner. It's like, so for me, it's very inspiring. We walk everywhere. Chelsea's very inspired to walk everywhere, meet new friends, go to classes. Like we're always very active here. Though you can be very active in Orange County, it was just, we go everywhere on the subway, or we'll take the ferry. And it's like all these little moments to tell these stories. And like, it's constantly inspiring because now seasons are changing. Everything looks different. Yeah. I'm like, man, if we had a brand do this or a client here, it's like, there's so many narratives throughout this entire city that we have fresh eyes on that's not worn out to us. So let's capitalize in these next 3 or 4 years and really milk it for everything that we have and bring a fresh perspective to what this work could be or what this community could be. So we're not the only people who have picked up and moved to New York. Like we're not the only creative agency that's ever existed. It's like, we're not, so we know that, but it's how can we do it differently? And how can we have more of an impact that's fulfilling for everyone else around us?
And have you seen just more people are in New York? So just being here, it's a huge advantage.
Everyone comes through here. It seems like there's so many more brands out here. They're all of a sudden like, oh, we have an office there, or we have people to meet with there. It's like, go connect with them. Everyone is way more inclined to meet up here and go get coffee or go do something. Everybody is so busy, but no one has an agenda like California, where it's like, oh, it's too far, or maybe we can link up this time, or maybe it's this time. It just keeps getting pushed around. You either want to meet up or you don't. Like I've met up with several different people out here who are both creative and not, who are super cool people. Now I'll stay in touch. We'll go hang out, go climb, whatever we want to do. That to me has been very fulfilling. And I think great for Chelsea as well, because she's wanted to find people who are like her, but not necessarily in the industry.
Yeah.
You're not trying to compete with everybody. It's like kind of annoying.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah. Where it's like, what do you do and what do I do? It's like, no one gives a shit out here. People are just like, are you a happy and fulfilling person? Like, do you make me a better person? It's not, what can I get from you? It's like, I feel like I'm becoming a better human hanging out with you. That's truly what we all want. And so that companionship and that community out here has been incredible. And I think we're trying to lean more into cultivating more of that by putting like monthly events together, like that run club for walkers that I was talking about, where it's not about competing. It's about just being active and then going to get coffee. It has nothing to do with like taking photos or like me trying to do a photo walk workshop. It's like, I'm here to just meet people. So I think having an underlying meeting of like, we're all human seems to be kind of the thing out here. Like even the like Hasidic community out here and like the Jewish people, they don't bother us. Like, and we don't bother them, but there's been so many times where they've said hello and we like say hello to their kiddos, and you respect each other's space. And though we have zero issue living in like among like a Hasidic community, there's a lot of push narrative around these families that like maybe the men aren't as great to the women. From what we've seen, they always take family walks. They're always holding hands. They spend quality
Yeah,
time
you can never
together.
really trust the media's
Yeah.
opinion of things.
From what we've seen, it's like they always go on sunsets. They're always playing with their kiddos. And that's very fulfilling to us to see that like there's all walks of life. Everybody needs each other. Like we're so different from that community, but we all respect each other's space. And it's kind of a beautiful thing, honestly, just to be in New York. So
Yeah, I think I've noticed that where the world is much more connected than it's ever been, but it also feels that, you know, it's also more lonely, you know, because you can theoretically be in touch with people, but never really get that human-to-human interaction in person. And something that I was excited to talk about was this concept of this coffee run club that you mentioned. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I feel like for some reason, like running's all of a sudden a thing. It's like, especially in the creative community, it's like everybody's going to try to run a marathon all of a sudden. It's almost comical, but it's awesome that people are wanting to get active. So for me, I'm like, well, I'm very active. I've always been working out. I've always been into sports. And it's like, that's one underlying part that if we could all have in common, everybody needs to be active. People need to be working out of some sort, walking, running, just be outside. So again, it's like, I don't want to necessarily have all friends that are in the creative community. It's like, I want to have people who do other stuff because that then inspires you in all different parts of your life. And so I thought about like, what's something different that's not just like a traditional run club. So I'm like, it could be a run club for walkers or something fun to play into that's hosted by Stash House where it's like, just come get active. Like maybe we go run a couple miles and walk it out and then we go to a coffee shop and everybody kind of meets each other. So it's like, if you could just meet one person during that time, then you've now gained a friend because you have no idea who could show up. And those people might be in a really bad spot in their life, be super lonely and be like, actually feel like I kind of fit in here because I just like to get outside, but I'm not super athletic. You just never know. And so I think just being able to kind of push as a community leader if possible, just maybe inspires other people to just kind of be connected. And then you're distracted by doing something. So there's not a lot of pressure to like perform as like a human or a friend because some people are shy.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're like, I don't know, in these social situations, like, I don't know how to act. It's like, we're just all going to get out and run. Everybody's just like, whatever. And like, I can, you know, start those conversations with people I feel like I haven't met. I think that's very comforting because that didn't really exist in a lot of the times that I've moved state to state. Very lonely. And not everyone's an outgoing person, right? It's like, and some people are incredible people, but they won't ever reach outside that zone. And so if like we can be the ones to push people out of their shells a bit, I think that that's truly what a community is. So,
and I love meeting new people through activity, whether it was like I play on this intramural basketball team, but on Saturdays, I've been doing it now for about like maybe 4 years. I've actually done this run. I'm on run 96, but a group of, a couple of my friends, and it's really become like my Saturday friends. Like I really don't ever hang with them outside of this one day, but it's Saturday at like 7 or 8 a.m. We do this like, we call it the Pally Run Club. It's like unofficial name. It's not an official group, but it's, we just kind of add people and, you know, it started with 4 guys and then, you know, everyone kind of brings a friend here and there. And then I become friends with them and then they bring friends. And the you know, with LA, it's a transient town, so a lot of people have moved away that were once in it, but then, you know, their friends have stayed and then they've brought friends and they're like and it's the thing I look forward to most in the week because we do 7 miles and, you know, you're chatting the whole time and then we always get breakfast afterwards and, you know, you get those endorphins going. We're running for an hour, you know, checking in with everyone, you know, and then throughout the week we're texting, hey, are we going to meet up this week? Who's gone? Who, you know, what are we going to do it? And it's absolutely, and my wife does it with me and she's a runner and, you know, then their wives and it was actually kind of funny. We were all single when we started it. And, like the original 4 guys, all of them are now married and now their wives do it. So it's kind of funny how that all works out. We were all like 28 when we started. Now we're like 32, 33. So it kind of worked out for us of coming to LA and meeting someone and doing it. But, so what kind of switching gears, you know, there's a lot of young listeners that are inspired by you. If you wanted to get started in a creative career, photo, video, editing, production, and you wanted to like live a solopreneur, what would be the advice to like start building credibility with like a low budget and maybe not the connections you have now?
Sure. Man, I will stand by this forever. It's not enough to be great at your crafts. Everyone is talented. We were talking about this the other day. Everyone's talented. You could be 15, you could be 40, You could have so much experience. You could have very little experience and just be a very talented individual. I think that you can't rush life experience, and so that will come as it comes. But I think for me, you have to be relatable and have this human drive to want to connect with people in order to sell yourself. So it's like, you could be half as talented, and if I'm able to connect with somebody and they're like, this guy's, I think his work's good enough, very fun to hang out with, always good positive energy, over delivers, guy crushes it. Most of the time you're going to pull those people into your team. Like, you want to work with them, because unless you're some elitist that you're so good, most of those guys are dickheads and they have like a 10K day rate. I like got in this business to not work with people like that. It's like, I don't want, if you have such an ego, we're not working together. It's like, cause I drop mine at the door. I don't have one. I'm no better than anybody else. It's like, this person could know way more than me. They may be way younger than me. I have no idea, but you can learn something from anyone. And so I think it's a 2-part series. You have to have the work. So it's like spec projects on spec projects, because you need to be able to sell that side of it where you're like, this is what I can do. Now this is who I am. Because again, it's not enough to have what you can do. It's like, wow, it's very talented. And then are they socially awkward? Do they have a weird energy towards like the models that they're working with or the team, or can you count on them? Right. And so I think it's not enough to have a badass portfolio, but you have to have a workable human. Like, you need to be sociable. You need to be trustworthy. You need to be fun and engaging with everybody. Hey, how's your day? Can I help with anything? Like, you guys need help carrying the boxes? Like, whatever that looks like, because that's an asset. People want that on their team. And so you see some people like when I started working with Normal Brand, Jimmy and those guys.
I love those. I call Jimmy all the time.
Yeah. So those guys are like family. They didn't have to stay working with me.
Yeah.
So they met me, and Jimmy reached out to me when I lived in Boulder, Colorado. I was like, hey man, I love your stuff. Saw you in an article. Have you ever shot like a men's lifestyle brand? I said, no, but I've always wanted to. I said, I feel like I would crush it. I just haven't had the opportunity per se. And he was like, oh, let's do it. So, scouted all kinds of locations for them. They came to Colorado. We shot so much. And back then it was like, those brothers are all very diligent. Jimmy is hard on his workers because he demands excellence, right? Like, he's a very fun guy, but also no bullshit. And so he could know that, like, him and I can joke. We have banter. Like, we're there to get stuff done. Let's have some fun. Let's go crush it. He knows that he can trust me with anything. He'll be like, Gee, I'll take care of it. If this looks like shit outside, he'll make sure it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he has zero issues there. And that's by me adapting and rolling with the punches. You know, there were so many years where we always got really bad weather. Every time we would shoot, and he'd just be like, shit, why does this happen? Somehow we'd always make a miracle work, and like, we'd find these little vignettes and make sure this story, we could spin it and be like, damn, we actually got a ton of content out of this because we were able to brainstorm, put our heads together. I think they really lean into me to be a problem solver. And so again, just because we work together doesn't mean they had to, right? But we've stayed together for like 8 years now. And so I think it's because my work was definitely not there back then. It was good enough, and I think they really loved what I was doing, but did I have experience? No. They took a chance on me. And so I made sure it was, you know, it was worth their while. And so anyway, long story short, I think it's just, it's because I was being vulnerable with them. I was like, listen, I haven't had that experience yet, but I would absolutely crush it. And they're like, all right, let's do it. You know, we need some help for our brand, so let's do it.
And I think what also I hear in there is you found your peers or your cohort, like at that time. I think if you're starting your career and you want to like start, like if someone was starting their career and they had a limited profile, Cuts probably wouldn't use them at this point.
Sure.
But Cuts 5 years ago, with the budgets that we had, might use someone different because, you know, it can be good enough at that stage. Sure. So really understanding like who your cohort is and not trying to take too big of swings too early. And then like you, now you have, you know, Normal Brand, I think 12th Tribe.
I think we did some stuff for them back then.
And numerous that you've been with for many years that you can kind of grow with them. Yeah. And now like Cuts, we're not really looking for anyone when we partner out. So if you can find that one and be like just a solid guy, that can go a long way. Yeah. All those little things make such a big difference. Just, you know, and being intentional about it. I think sometimes people, it's not enough just to be nice in a way, but be intentional. Okay, I'm going to help when, you know, Liam needs a camera picked up, or, hey, just because I'm the photographer, doesn't mean I can't open the door or, just those little things. That's what creates word of mouth. And that's what's going to drive like repeat behavior for your clients. So yeah, I think those little things are so important. Just not being an asshole.
Chelsea knows more. Chelsea knows more about that than me. She's worked with so many people and people with egos and entitlement. She would always be the first one to be like, your ass is going home, all good, or you're not getting in. It's all good. They're like, oh, I know so-and-so and I'm with so-and-so. She's like, all good, not getting in. Like, if you have an ego, you're not getting in this event. It's like, you're not on the list. If you are very cool and super sweet, and it's like, hey, is there a way I could possibly do this? Or I'm friends with him, we try to be on this. I'm sure that she would openly be like, well, let's figure it out. But for people that immediately, try to flex or dick swing and be like, oh, I'm this guy. It's like, all good, man. I don't want to work with you like whatsoever. And I have no problems or qualms about that. Just because you're a massive client doesn't mean I want to work with you, even if the paycheck's huge. I can immediately tell from a get-go, it's like, this is going to be a nightmare. They micromanage. They want to do all this shit. They need to hire us, but then want to control everything. It's not worth it. I'm all good. We didn't get in this business to sing for our supper nonstop. It's like we came here to want to partner with people and to create stories that are worth telling and enjoy the process, not suffer in it.
Yeah. What are some things you might see young creators do right now that you're like, that's got to stop?
Man, I simultaneously got into photography when social media was just kind of being born. It was right after Facebook. It was in college. Like, it was just a thing. I feel like so many people have lost the art form in the fact that that's exactly what it is. It's a form of art. It's expression. Everyone is getting into it to make money. That's so much unrealistic pressure that people are putting on themselves as far as like photography or film. It's like, I have to make money. I have to be an influencer. I have to do all this stuff because I didn't go to college. Like, this is my one way out. That wasn't a thing. I had a career. I had another degree before I did this. It happened alongside of it, and it was just blossoming because I didn't put the pressure there. Now it's different when like I left my job and was like, I'm full-time freelance. I got to make rent. I got to figure this out. But you enjoy it. The thing is, now I feel like people have lost this sense of credibility for themselves because people hit me up and like, I'm sure they hit you up nonstop. What's the one thing, like overnight success? And it's like, everybody is, I think, trying to fit in to this same box as many creative ways as possible, when in reality, when we're young, we're taught to think outside the box. People are trying to cram themselves in the same box to be seen and heard, like on social and these trendy stuff, to be like, this is going to get me there. That when you put all those eggs crammed so much in there and like you get nothing out of it, it's like the most empty feeling on the planet, I'm sure. I've never personally put myself in there because I can see it plain as day. It's just not for me. I've always stayed true to myself, and it's a gamble that I take. But I think most people are trying to simultaneously just run with everyone else when they should be trying to figure out their own way. Like, so many people try to edit like me or do these things, and in reality, they're always going to be in my shadow. You can be inspired by someone, then you want to develop your own path. Because who wants to be like a one-off of someone or the B team of someone? That's just not fair. And it's not fair to them because it's discrediting their craft. So I don't know what's going to happen with the generation. I think there's more talent than ever. I just think they're going about it in the wrong way. And it's like, it's tough to see because I didn't go down that path. But it's not to say that they won't be very successful. I like to think that I'm not an asshole in those decisions because I'm trying to think about other people and the way we carry each other. You know? So
yeah, I think there's like when I don't know if there's a better way to say this, but like a hero identifying problem where for me, one of the things I wish I was able to do when I was young, I had a few jobs before I started Cuts, but Cuts was really kind of how I learned my experience. I think there's a lot to gain if you want to be an entrepreneur from working for someone that you really respect, that is your hero for 2 to 3 years, because you can learn a lot and avoid a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I know Cuts has made a lot of mistakes in the apparel world, mainly because I didn't have apparel experience. Now, there's been so many blessings that I've had by not being in apparel because we've done things differently and it's led us to faster success. But don't, I think not forgetting that experience does matter. Yeah. And not being afraid to work for free or be like a really low paid person if it's the right hero for you can really go a long way. And I think even to this day, one of my goals for 24 was, when I first started the business, I knew so many founders that were kind of where at the phase Cuts is at now, but I haven't done the good job of finding like that next level because there's just less of them. And I recently started, I got in this group chat with they call themselves like the big dogs. They're all well over a couple $100 million in sales. I think collectively this group does like $1 billion, and it's been huge for me to see how these guys operate. And it's given me a lot of value, and really helping me run the business in a way that I wouldn't have, but I wouldn't have been able to get there if I didn't have that goal to, find who those new heroes are. So kind of similar to what you're saying there.
Yeah. I mean, Chelsea and I talk every day about you count your blessings. So it's like, again, our worst day is someone else's best day, and keeping things in a perspective, because this is a blessing what we're getting to do. It's like we can afford to live in New York. We have a lovely home. Like God's blessed us with opportunities hopefully that we can pay it forward to someone else. And I think a lot of people don't count their blessings, and they just expect that entitlement of like, I've done this, so I should be getting paid for this. And it's not the grinding hours of experience that turn that problem solving into an actual career. It's like, I'm actually good at making mistakes, and correcting them on the fly has made me an incredible artist. It's like, wow, that goes wrong. This is how I fix it. Boom, we're done. This goes wrong on a big level. That's how I fix it. Boom, no one's time's wasted. No one even noticed. We're set. You can't rush any of that. And it's like, I just think that this generation, everyone is trying to rush that. They're putting that pressure on themselves. Like, I got to make money. This is a career. And I think we just don't know about it, because we had certain goals and aspirations of, I think character building is a huge issue with this generation. I sanded every single metal locker, and every middle school and high school for a summer working for my uncle and his paint company, his commercial paint company, by hand. No AC in these schools because they wanted to conserve money over summer. I'm sitting there sweating my ass off all day, every day, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., smelling like old paint, basically is like vomit on metal, for hours on end, getting paid $8 an hour when I could have been getting paid, $5 an hour.
Yeah.
But he gave me a little bit more. And it's like, that character building was enough for me to see that some of these guys who are 50 years old might also be doing that same job. And I was just like, this isn't going to be the last for me. And that's not to look down on someone that is doing that. It was just like, this is that enough character building for me. It was like, I got to get out of whatever this is. And I think it all comes down to like core values that your parents instill in you, of just like, the shit needs to hit you so you understand where you could come from and where you're going to go. And so I think it's just never forget where you come from. I feel like that's a huge issue with this generation, is they're coming from tons of money and success, and they see people make a lot of money from doing nothing. Like, people are just making money being hot, and that just is insane. I think the world's kind of probably always been that way. You get jobs if you're attractive, blah, blah, blah. But this day and age is like mental, that people can just be paid to be attractive. Like, they have no quality. So that, to me, it's Chelsea, and I think about that a lot with our kiddos. Someday it's like, man, there's gonna be a lot of pressure on us as parents. Like, how do we be their friend, but also they fear us and know that they don't want to disappoint us, but also guide them in the right direction. And so I think about that all the time.
One thing I'm very impressed with as we're just sitting here is you're just very intentional about the man you want to be. Whether it's being in, walking in here, hosting us, or, on social, and you're very intentional. Where does that come from? And why is that important to you?
I think my grandpa taught me, he said, it's you are who you are and the way that you present yourself. I don't know. I think I've seen a lot of my friends make a ton of mistakes growing up, whether it was like drugs or they throw their whole life away. And for me, even though I was completely surrounded by it, I always felt like I had to be the person that had my head on my shoulders. And I think that that's just translated in my career. It's like, if I'm very aesthetically put together in this form, then it also needs to match my lifestyle and how I carry that. I also need to instill very much this heavy intention, because I needed, to be there for Chelsea. She needs to be able to count on me. We need to take care of the dogs. Like, if this agency wasn't working, I wouldn't be afraid to go get 5 other jobs if I needed to, if it meant taking care of her and our family. Yeah. And so I think when I present something, or like I said, at Stash House or with you guys, it's up to my standards. It's professionalism. I want to be carried that way. And I think there's one thing that some people think, that I am very serious about my craft, but I'm actually very unserious in life. I think it's life's already hard enough.
Yeah.
And so I think if more people could see that side of me, that I laugh a lot and joke.
Don't take yourself too serious.
Yeah,
right?
it's like I take my craft very serious, and when I put things out, it's with so much intention. Like when I release a product or something, people are like, damn, this is very dialed. This all looks very cohesive with your brand. That's because I care about what I'm putting out. I want people to invest in what I'm talking about. And so, but in real life, it's like I think a key part is you are very intentional, but don't take yourself too serious, because like I said, life is already hard enough, man. It's like we got to laugh through it.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. So what does success look like for the agency in 4 to 10 years? Like what would you want it to look like?
Just we're rich as shit. No, I think
that wasn't the answer I was expecting.
No, I think
and that could be a part of it though. I don't think that's bad.
No, yeah. I think we want to make good money, but we want to see everyone that's on our team win as well.
Yeah.
So to us, it's like having a fulfilling career that we feel like is also working with us and could possibly be working for us, and we're just doing these things. We're trying to build we're not trying to build this empire, but we're trying to build a sustainable company that we feel like I can live and breathe creative direction in and manage teams and do something really, really cool that help change the narrative of what a very antiquated look at an agency is. You know, there's so many pieces of an agency, but we want to be a small one that we know each other and we know everyone's strengths and they're at the top of their game at all times.
And does that look like having maybe 4 to 6 clients on retainer, so it's like less business development, or like what from a tangible sense does that look like?
Yeah, I think we're still figuring that out. It's like, you know, do we have are some retainers with clients brand strategy or some production? I think that's what we're looking at right now. But in a sense, I would love to do 4 very heavy hitting projects a quarter with whatever. If it's a different client a quarter, amazing. That these are high level shoots that means something with curating, you know, mini stories on social or commercial, whatever that looks like. That is my goal, is to be doing some higher level production that actually means something. So when people see it come out, the way it's rolled out, the way it's released, you're like, shit, this looked insane. The narrative behind it, the filming, the coloring, all the puzzle pieces together looked very cohesive. That is my goal. And if that brings a lot of money, amazing. If not, I want to be very happy at what we're doing, because I know the people that'll be with us are winning as well. And so I think in longevity, success is seeing something that you've cultivated and made and other people are happy and also making a living doing it, is something that Chelsea and I want to see, because when we decide to have kiddos, I don't want her to have to feel like she has to work. Even though that's always going to be her and she wants to be doing her thing. It's like, I want her to know that I will take care of us.
Yeah.
I have something that's also working for us. I can manage these teams. We're going to crush it. And I can also be a present dad.
Yeah.
I don't want to be gone. I don't want to be at my desk. I don't want to be at any hours on end at home. I want to be present. And so that is very, very important to me. Is whatever that takes. And it's not going to be cutting corners. It's going to be building this solid foundation. That's what we're here in New York to do.
I love that. I think so often there's so much emphasis on your careers and what you've done. But my dad has always said the most important job you'll have is being a dad and being a mom. Because if your kids don't love you, it doesn't matter how much success you have. And it sounds like we both come from really good families. So I think with that, that's perfect. Garrett King, our first legacy ambassador, and we're stoked to launch it with you. And we're just rooting for you to have as much success and have those dreams come true. So appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.